an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, A Song of Ice and Fire 2, the co-host switcheroo, the rereading, Return to Westeros, HBO Spoiler Edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for TV. You laugh every time.
I keep thinking you're going to take that part out.
In these chapters, Jon learns a little something about privilege. And Pitire,
oh my God,
springs a trap for Ned at a brothel, or so he thinks. Welcome to Some Spoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king.
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
So, Rashawn, we have other stuff to talk about in these chapters, but the main thing I want to know is, what do you think of Littlefinger as written?
So, okay. We talked last time about this ridiculous pronunciation that's happening in this book. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's hella distracting. But I just put my head down and grind my teeth and just try to make the fucking best of it. He is very slithery. He has not actually been caught swooping around like Snape. But in my imagination, that is how he moves through King's Landing.
Oh my God, I never thought to compare him to Snape, but that's hilarious.
So, this Pitire... Oh my God.
Pitire.
I can't. Oh my God. He is a little bit more... what's the word I'm looking for? He's a little bit more... not ingratiating. Smarmy, I think, is the word I'm looking for, oddly enough.
Okay.
Than I found his portrayal to be by, what's his face? Peter something.
I don't think it's Peter.
It's not Peter, is it?
No, I don't think
all
so.
All I can think is Peter Carcettian.
I know. Everybody's just like, hey, Carcetti.
I can't think of his name, which is sad because I really do enjoy him as an actor. He showed up on, he pops up on another show that I like a lot, and I enjoy him on that as well. But in the book here, he just, I don't know, he feels a little bit slippery. And I don't know, he just...
All right, then.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have a better, more articulate way to express what I'm feeling.
That's okay.
He's just like, on the show, he was immediately, and for my experience, for my watching, he was immediately kind of like a heavy, you know? Like, oh, this is somebody with a lot of power, and, you know, And the same power moves are on display in these chapters, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty much scene for scene almost. But something about the way he interacts with Kat and Ned in that scene, it just felt almost like he was playing weaker than he knows he is. But anyway, so...
I find it interesting, your feelings on him, because I like him better in the book than I did on the show.
Hmm.
And I don't really know what that's about. I feel like in the book I find him funnier. In the show, it felt like there was so much projection. I felt like the show was trying to make him look like he was a real heavy hitter in this certain way. And by pushing it too much, they wound up doing the opposite a little bit and actually like making him seem a little bit more inept than I think that they wanted. And that's the thing that, I mean, like there's a moment at one point where he kind of tries to like hold something over Cersei's head in the show. And he does it in such a way that she's really able to turn it around on him and be like, you know that I could literally kill you at any point. What are you doing right now?
Yeah, that's the, he says knowledge is power, and or information is power, and she says power is
power, yeah.
So is that a different take than what happens in the book?
It doesn't, the book, it feels more, I think when you say that he's trying to underplay his power, I think that's kind of the theme of in the book, is that he does play it pretty close to the vest and doesn't really like let it show what he's entirely not just capable of in terms of his personality, but like the power that he has is kept a little bit more low key, I think.
Huh. And he doesn't have any POVs, right? I'm pretty sure I read that.
No, he doesn't.
So I guess it'll be interesting for me to see, because again, the show gives the benefit of every character basically having a POV.
Right, yeah.
So without him able to tell me how smart and powerful he is all the goddamn time, like the character on the show did, I'm curious what like you said you thought that you said you liked him better in the book. Did you think he was smarter in the book than he was in the show?
It's not even really anything about his power that made me like him better in the book so much as I find him funny.
Oh, okay.
Like there's a couple, like when he's just eating an apple waiting for Ned to finish climbing down and he's like almost done with the apple and he's like, oh wow, nice of you to show up. And then at one point when Ned's like, where are we going? And he's like, I'm going to cut your throat and hide you in the wall. And then when they get to the inn and Ned's like, and you have my thanks. And his response is, now that's a treasure. Like, he's just such a fucking snot. And I find that really amusing in juxtaposition to how earnest Ned is. I just really enjoy him being like, yeah, okay, that's great. Good. It's just so funny to me. I don't know. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that stuff. It's just, I guess I just enjoy his attitude. I liked it. And he doesn't really have that in the show. Like, everything that he says is so underlaid with this, like, kind of menace. Like, watch out. And it's just like, yeah, watch out. Okay, you're very frightening. It just gets too... It's so obvious that it gets old. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I really enjoyed him just being like, what
so his villainy
fucking do to Ned?
His villainy just crossed over into like the cartoonish for you on the show.
A little bit too like aggressively. Well, I have my own plans.
Twirling his mustache.
Yeah, like, well, okay, well, I figure most people do, but now I'm worried about it because you've made me worry. Purposefully, it feels. And in the book, it just feels much more like he's around doing some things, and he isn't really very invested. He's just like, you idiots, as he, like, watches them fumble through the politics and the implications of this thing, you know, which... I think I have a lot more sympathy now coming at this from the 2020 perspective of someone who thought they knew how government worked and now realizes that rules don't matter because people have to be like in agreement on what they are and follow them jointly.
Right. If someone decides that they don't want to abide by your rules, you quickly discover that there's not a whole fucking lot you can do about it.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I just, I have this, like, I feel like last time I read this, I found him irritating in comparison to Ned, who is such an upstanding, honorable, good man. And I enjoyed the good man character because I felt that that was like the hero, that the protagonist. This is the guy we're here for. Mm-hmm. And coming around to it now, I'm just so impatient with Ned in a way that I wasn't the first time around. And I'm just like, Ned, get your head out of your ass, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah. I had that moment with Kat when we find out that in our absence, she has filled Baelish and Varys in on the suspicions of what happened to Jon Arryn. Which, bitch, the fuck?
Right.
What are you thinking? And then there's this really horrible, like, pain in my stomach to read where as Baelish is leaving her and Ned alone at the end of the chapter, where she's just like grasping his hand and you've come back to me, a brother I thought I'd never see again. And what, lady? I just,
yeah, you know, it's really inept when Ned is like, "What? Why did you do that?"
Yeah. Even Ned is like, "This is a terrible idea."
Yep.
So this, the Baelish that I'm going to get in the books is clearly going to be kind of a very different character than who I got on the TV show. For his continued exasperation with Ned through the trip to the brothel, I have to say it kind of wore me down. And by the end, I was like, enough already. Just, we get it. I was not as amused as you were.
I really, I don't know why I found that so funny, but yeah, I really enjoyed that.
It is like that is like the worst version of me, can be very much like that. So I can't be a fan of that. But he did get one shot in because he called Ned old while he was trying to climb down this that fucking wall, and I did laugh at that a little bit. But you know what? I wasn't laughing when Ned gripped him up.
Right? What a moment of Ned getting angry the way he should be about other things for the wrong thing.
Yes.
Ugh.
And he is, I mean, we're kind of all over the place, but Ned is carrying this tremendous, well, I guess maybe I was just talking about the Ned chapter because that's the first one, right?
It's Jon.
Is it Jon first?
Eddard, and then Tyrion.
Oh, why did I think it was, I thought it was Ned first. All right, well, let's go back to Jon.
Did you read the wrong things?
No. I read those three chapters. I promise.
Okay.
But I think oh, yeah, no, we're good. I swear to God, we're good. I listened to the first chapter while I was still working, and then the other two after work when I was eating dinner.
Okay.
So I started with the second one that we had to read, which, because it was so recent, felt like the first one. Okay.
I mean, I'm saying okay. I don't really get it, but that's fine.
Because the Jon chapter for me was like 1:00 this afternoon. That might as well be 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, right. What is time?
So, Jon is doing really well at the wall, and also doing terribly at the wall. You wouldn't think that both things could be true at the same time.
Yep.
But turns out it is. He is showing himself to clearly be the best fighter. Mm-hmm. He has taken every challenge that's been thrown to him because Commander is it Thorne?
Alistair Thorne is the
Right.
the Master at Arms, I guess.
Yes. So he does not care for Jon and his lofty airs. But, so he has just been tossing, like, brother after brother after brother. They're all older than Jon. They're all bigger than Jon. And Jon has been tearing that ass up.
Yep.
So you would think that this would be great. But it turns out it is not great. And it is making the other knights really hate him.
They're not knights.
Not the brothers,
Yeah.
right? They're, it's making them hate him. Alistair Thorne does not like him and has decided to call him Lord Snow, which is just rude. Mm-hmm. And then all the other fuckers are picking up on it. So he's feeling really lonely and isolated and disillusioned about this choice to come up here and like low-key lie to. Mm-hmm. Well, not low-key, high-key lie to. On top of that, Uncle Benjen is acting like he don't even know him.
Yeah.
Which, of course he is, because this is where we are now. Like, what did you think it was going to fucking be?
I love him being like, I know that you thought, but guess what? And I was just like, I thought too.
Right, I'll tell you what the fuck we thought. Mm-hmm. We thought it was going to be great, because you were all excited that he was coming up there. and you're Uncle Benji, and you got up there in front of your friends. You know what it's like? It's like when you make a friend over the summertime. And then school starts, and you can't be friends with them in school.
Oh, no.
That's what he pulled.
I have never had that happen, but that sounds terrible.
Oh, that's a thing that people talk about. I have also not ever had it happen, but that's mostly because between summer and school, I usually moved.
Shit.
So you know. So, you know, I'm not saying my situation or the way we went about it was the best way. I'm just saying it's a way.
Yeah, I had actually forgotten about Jon's struggles at the beginning here. Like, not that these are the only ones he has and that after the beginning everything is fine.
Oh.
But the very kind of issue that he has here, it's so... I mean, I already said in the intro about learning about what privilege is. That really is the thing. It's like he is so used to having to compete against lordlings, as they are called.
That's so weird, too. I don't think I really like that word.
It's such a weird, like, it feels like noodly in my mouth. I don't know.
And I noticed in the Tyrion chapter, he throws Ling at the end of Mare.
Does he?
He when he's talking to fucking Lord Commander and talking about White Walkers, and he says, "Well, the people that live at so and so think that they see Merlings,
whatever, mer people."
Yeah, I know it's supposed to be more people, but
no,
like throwing.
I mean, Merlings is a thing. I don't feel like he's throwing that at the end. I think that's an extant... Well, I guess lordling is an extant word as well.
Exactly. It's the same, yeah.
Okay. Fair. I'm thinking of the word, like, youngling as another example of a thing that, I
don't like that either. I don't like changeling.
So, we just don't like ling.
I think that's what we're drilling down to.
I feel like that's racist. Is there something like... I don't know. I feel like if there's a whole like piece of a word that you don't like, there's something at the base of that's like, I don't like this. It feels like it's a big waving red flag of some kind. I don't know. Is there such a thing as too woke?
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us.
So yeah, Jon is just like absolutely killing it. He's beaten Gren in this fight when the scene starts. Yep. And Gren is like very salty about being beaten. And Jon is kind of like, oh, he's just salty because I beat him, without really taking into account the rest of what is going on here. Right.
All that has to be broken down to him. Mm-hmm. And, it's, what I was thinking when I was reading this is that it is, because, we're going to, like, talking about privilege. it is often exactly this, right? Because if you were to ask Jon the day before this chapter happens, if he thought he was privileged in any real way, he would probably acknowledge begrudgingly, yeah, because he's, in a house of a lord. But mostly he would not think he was, because what he would compare himself to would be the other Stark children.
Right.
And he doesn't have anywhere near the privilege that they have. Right?
Yeah.
But then you walk out of your particular circumstance out into the world, and you don't realize the privileges that you do carry. Because you're so used to having less than, right?
Right.
So, and that's where a lot of people get stuck. They can't go from one to the other, right? And we all have it to some extent, depending on what areas you're privileged in and what areas you aren't. And if you cannot make that adjustment, then yeah, you're going to be feeling like he feels. This is exactly what your interaction with the world will be like.
Yeah, a little bit later, he gets a bit of a talking to from what's his face, the armorer, Donald Noy. And Jon says they hate me because I'm better than them. And Donald says, no, they hate you because you act like you're better than them. And what I thought of with this for myself is grammar policing. I am somebody who has been a hardcore grammar policer, grammar Nazi, as is the common parlance of our time. And it is something that I have always been so disdainful about, and so it's a real superiority complex in there, without thinking about the fact that I was privileged enough to be somebody who understands very easily when it comes to language arts in the first place. I was granted a decent education at a school that had decent funding, because my parents specifically moved to a district that had that. And I was an only child who was gifted tons of books and granted a lot of free time to just sit and just read by myself. And so I absorbed a lot because of the advantages that I was given. And I don't think about that. And it wasn't until like the past couple of years that I really began to see the comments around like the privileged and classist sort of nature of grammar policing. And at first, of course, my response was basically, it wasn't even, well, that's not true. My response was, well, but what am I supposed to make fun of then? That was literally like I want to be able to mock people. How can I mock people then if it's not about that? And just, setting aside how fucked up that response is, it's just, people aren't given the same advantages. People don't have the same understanding. Like, I would be so disgusted if somebody decided to mock me for getting, math problems wrong. But my brain just doesn't fucking work that way, man. I do not do well with numbers. They literally look like they're moving around on the page as I look at them. That is how confused they make me. And we all have our things. So it's just, the attitude here that he has about, fighting and this disdain that he has for the fact that these guys don't know what they're doing. And Donald has to be like, dude, they never had anybody train them. Right.
Most of them have never even held this type of sword in their hand before. Just that have access to that type of armory, is not something everyone has. What does he say? Most of these their fathers were farmers or smiths, or traders or whatever the fuck. They didn't have a master at arms in the house they grew up in. And it's I love it because it's a dressing down of Jon, but it's done in a really matter of fact way, not necessarily in a to humiliate you kind of way.
Right. It's a
But-
come to
but-
Jesus moment.
Yeah, but it's very stern, and he's telling him, look, if you fucking keep this up, you're going to have a bunch of knives in your back, which, foreshadowing. But yeah, I like your example, because that is one of those places, and I have been guilty of that as well, and I've also like been very guilty of the very types of grammatical mistakes that will get you called out, you know. So I always have to go back and edit my comment. I will often not see a typo until I hit post. And then once it's done, all of a sudden I'll see like 5 things.
And you're just like, God damn it!
So yeah, so I, you know, when you're reading this, you don't really know which way John's going to go after he gets this reckoning. And
I love when Donald calls him a bully.
listen, John gets so angry at this, like the angriest at this particular accusation. But he was right though. He knows on some level that these people don't have the experience that he has.
Yeah.
It's evident by the way they fight. And yet he doesn't let up. You know? Each person he beats decisively. And he humiliates them.
Yeah.
You know? And it's so funny too, because he's so proud of himself, because these guys are all bigger and older, which will be the very things that make this even more so humiliating.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, I'm going to read this quote. They look at you and see a castle-bred bastard who thinks he's a lordling. You're no lordling. Remember that. You're a Snow, not a Stark. You're a bastard and a bully. And he says, a bully, they were the ones who came after me, 4 of them. 4 that you've humiliated in the yard. 4 who are probably afraid of you. I've watched you fight. It's not training with you. Put a good edge on your sword and they'd be dead meat. You know it. I know it. They know it. You leave them nothing. You shame them. Does that make you proud?
listen. So, John is really angry.
Yeah.
And has been for some time now.
Yep.
Since he's been up there. And he is taking out his anger the way bullies take out their anger.
Yep.
You know, he is showing them something. I'll show you. You know, and then the whoever happens to be in front of him will just be the fucking, you know, the proxy.
Right.
You know, I want to say, I feel like this Jon Snow that I'm meeting here in this book is a little bit darker than I feel like I got on the show.
How so?
So, throughout the course of the show, you know, it was fodder for like a billion memes, you know, how brooding Jon Snow was, right? You know?
Yes.
So, a lot of that brooding seemed kind of like, what's going on in there? Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be getting something by this, like, expression on your face. You know?
Okay.
And being inside his head like this, he feels a little bit angrier than I feel like I remember his character being. And I guess really what I'm reacting to is this call out of being a bully, because if you had asked me if that was a word I would ever have thought would have been used with that character, I'd have been like, no, what are you talking about? And, you know, that's partly just because my memory is shit. Partly because so much happened in the 8 seasons, 10 years we watched. You know, so some things are lost for me.
Right.
But honestly, as I'm reading these so far, I'm just like, this is a really sullen, fucking mopey teenage boy here. And I don't... And also, I guess because he's aged up so on the show, you know, like here, he's like 15.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right in there.
Yeah.
when their heads are particularly a mess, you know? And it just really comes through in the chapters.
Yeah, I think that it's that in the show they make him more sad, or at least he reads as more sad, and the anger isn't as evident. I feel like it's not because I think that, like, as a viewer, it's again the problem with doing something on television versus in a book. You can't, like, I feel like viewers are going to see these, like, asshole guys, and they're going to feel like, good, beat him, John, fuck him.
I feel like that was my take on it.
Yeah, you know? I feel like there's just, when you watch a thing versus getting, like, this sort of, it's not just a perspective of him, like, beating them, but when you hear the way he thinks about them, it changes the victory. It changes the way he's going into these fights from, like, him trying his best to him wanting to ruin somebody's fucking day, wanting to embarrass somebody. And that's just a whole different vibe. And I think that the show did a little bit... They did this with some other characters as well. I think they fell into the trap of wanting to make him, like, a likable character before they actually... paid enough attention to, like, who he really is in the books, and they flattened him out and made him a little bit more two-dimensional. And, you know, there are certain ideas that it's harder to get across if you don't have a lot of time, which is really, that's the problem with so many of the portrayals of certain characters in the series, is just, they obviously were doing what they could in the time that they had for each character, and there are so many characters, and they did not give themselves the space to tell the story completely.
Right.
So there's not room, really.
Yeah. So far, it's been, you know, I've really been enjoying getting these different snippets of these characters that it feels like I know. And you know, we also fucking make it to King's Landing in these chapters, so I was super excited for that as well. But so I'm trying to think. They have the dinner, right?
Right.
This I enjoyed tremendously.
When he makes a joke out of Alistair Thorne, and Alistair Thorne is like, you've made an enemy of me, 15-year-old boy. Which is a very rational way for an adult to react.
And there's the thing with Tyrion where he Thorne tries to threaten to duel him or something, challenges him to a duel.
That's a little bit later. That's in the Tyrion chapter.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
I do want to talk about, too, like, John, it's something interesting, like, when we already talked about how he sort of wanted there to be special treatment with Benjen, and I think that's an interesting thing to point out, his privilege as well, is just, he wants to act like he wasn't given any advantages because he was a bastard, but he's coming into this with the full expectation of having a connection. And it just doesn't seem to occur to him. Yeah, see, you're so used to privilege in regard to, like, who you're related to, that you took it for granted you'd be treated differently than everybody here because of that. Oh, you know?
Yeah, that hasn't occurred to him at all.
Yeah.
And there's no real reflection on it after he gets to talking to You know, it's not like we see him go, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that thing I did with my uncle. That was that shit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And clearly, that's one of the things he's also angry about, and why he's sort of acting out in these practice fights.
He pictures Benjen dead on the ground when Benjen refuses to let him be a ranger, bring him out.
What the fuck? Yeah, like, what the fuck was that?
He got real mad.
Yeah. See, this is what I mean. Like, again, possibly part of the show. I don't remember. I don't
think so.
remember ever having, like, a moment with Jon Snow on TV where I was like, ugh, this dude is terrible.
Yep.
Like, I would have said it for, like, lots of other reasons as far as, like, plot and shit like that. But, I mean, as far as the character goes, I don't recall that there was ever anything that he did where I was just like, oh, you might not be a good person. Or not even that, just that, like I said before, ooh, that was dark.
Right, yeah. And he's like, feels guilty for it, like, right after he thinks it.
We always do.
And then after, and even, like, later on, spoilers, Benjen doesn't come back. And Jon is like, oh my god, I definitely pictured him dead, and now he's not back, and what is going on? And there's nothing, like, you already felt guilty for thinking a certain thing, and then, just thinking it, but then the thing comes true? Oh,
right.
Get out of town. No, don't want to live with that.
Does he get the news of Benjen in his chapter, or does that happen in Tyrion's chapter?
It's more... He doesn't exactly get the news in any of the chapters. It's more that Tyrion mentions to him, doesn't it seem like Benjen should be back by now? And Jon says something like, yeah, he did say he would be back by my birthday. And his birthday has come and gone, and he is
right.
back.
It's the message about Bran that comes.
Yeah.
And for a second, he's like, is it news of my uncle?
That's in his chapter.
Okay. So he's already feeling like, where's he been? And then worried that this news is going to be that bad news. It turns out to be news that Bran woke up, I think.
Yes.
Because he's, like, very, very happy about that. And
I love when they say we have news
up.
of your brother, and Tyrion's immediately like, oh, I'm so sorry, Jon. You can pull your roll a little bit there, man.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Why? Y'all, don't do that.
Right? Jesus.
Wait until after the thing is read. Good Lord. He picks Tyrion up and, like, swings him around. That shit's super inappropriate.
Oh, I forgot about that. How undignified.
So...
And he comes, after getting that news, he comes down and goes up to Gren and is like, hey, buddy, look, my bad. I actually had the same injury you have, except it wasn't even a metal sword. It was a wooden sword, and it hurt like a motherfucker, so I know that probably really, really sucks. And also, I can help you learn how to defend against this particular move. And Alistair says, oh, yeah, you're going to teach him to fight. And I'm going to teach your wolf to juggle. And Jon's like, done. I would love to see that. And everybody in there bursts out laughing, including even, like, the cooks and stuff. And Sir Alistair says, that was a grievous error, Lord Snow. And then he flaps away. You know what? Sir Alistair is Snape. He's fucking Snape.
Away.
Just flaps away in a swirl of black cloaks. Plural, because he wears an undercloak and an overcloak for maximum drama.
Cloakage. It's he is really quick to declare someone an enemy. Is completely lacking in joy and humor, which we find out later. I love to in the Tyrion chapter where he actually does call out that this guy is the worst guy to be fucking training your guys.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a toxic, terrible he should be, what is he? He should be shoveling manure or something.
Yeah, shoveling at the stables.
Which I think I really appreciate it because it's so rare that somebody speaks up on something like that. I mean, it doesn't seem to really make a difference, but I was glad he said something.
Yeah, Mormont says basically we haven't got anybody that's like trained because we used to be an honorable thing to like, you know, for lords and knights to come and join the Night's Watch. Now we have nothing but like the scraps and dregs of humanity.
Yep.
And he's was sent here as an option because he was otherwise going to be beheaded after fighting for the Targaryens. So, yeah, this guy is somebody with an axe to grind. Oh my God. And I meant to bring up that when Donald Noy talks to Jon and is like, stop being a fucking dick, he says something about how you're here for life. And Jon like smirks and says, life, in this really sarcastic way. And then thinks to himself how Donald Noy at least got to live his life. He fought and finally lost his arm when he was around 35, and then when his life was all but over, joined the Night's Watch. And I was like, you motherfucker, if you don't shut your motherfucking mouth. It's like such a combo of ageism and ableism there. Well, he was old and he didn't have an arm, so it was either die or sign up for the Night's Watch. And he decided he would rather not lay down and die.
At 35.
Right? Like, dude, God. He's just, yeah.
Happy birthday.
I turned 36, guys. I'd be a grandma.
So does the chapter end like that with him walking out?
With Alistair walking out, yeah. And then we go to Ned.
Trauma queen. You guys, poor Ned.
Ned isn't ready for any of this.
Poor Ned. He walks in. Okay, so yeah, he is racked with guilt about having to kill Lady. He's furious with Robert.
Yep.
Even though he has not really dealt with that, you know. He's using words like disappointed. But he's so heartbroken that Robert didn't listen to him, even as he begged, and is just wondering who this man is. The girls are a mess. The whole rest of the ride was miserable.
Yep.
Robert stayed in his little coach and got hammered.
Yep.
The Starks rode well ahead of the rest of the party. The girls are crying and not speaking to each other and not speaking to him. And he gets into town, goes to his first meeting.
He was about to go for a nice bath.
Oh, with no time.
Yep.
No time.
They're like, actually, we would like to see you immediately.
Yep. And I had forgotten who all was on the small council at the very beginning of this story.
It's weird,
guys.
right?
It's so weird. So Renly is there. I completely forgot this motherfucker was on it. First of all, I completely forgot about Renly Baratheon, period,
Fair.
quite frankly. I just did, y'all. I'm sorry. So he's here. Varys is there. Baelish is there.
Did you listen to the? Did you hear the voice acting he did for Varys?
Oh, I heard that shit, and I heard it the last time too. I said my Facebook did sound like he was doing Sylvester the cat with marbles in his mouth. It is.
He's got this like wet mouth thing. Ugh.
It's like in his imagination, Varys talks as if he has a dick in his mouth all the time.
Ew.
I'm just saying, y'all.
I ran across another audiobook narrator that did a similar voice for also a fat character. And I'm wondering if this is like what they think fat people sound like they're always eating?
Oh, you're always eating, so this is what you sound like.
it?
Yeah, I think it might be.
News flash. I don't. But that's fine.
I think that you might be on to something like that. 'Cause yeah, that's what that noise is.
Although Illyrio
gross.
is supposed to be fat, and I don't remember his voice being particularly squelchy.
I guess we'll see.
So yeah, we'll see.
So Baelish, Varys, Brinley, who is the Maester there? Is there a Maester?
Yeah, he is. He's
there.
Yeah, Maester, not Maester Lewin, not Maester Aemon, Pycelle.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm leaving somebody out.
I feel like there is another. Isn't there somebody that's like the ship? Right. Let's see. Pool. Somebody Pool.
Okay.
With,
I didn't say Pool, so that must be who I'm
yeah, I
missing.
think that's the one.
So, poor Ned thinks that, first of all, they have to wait till Robert gets there.
Oh my god.
And they all have a hearty chuckle at that. Which...
Oh no, Pool is his steward. I lied.
So who are we forgetting?
I'm looking.
Oh, he asked where Stannis is, but Stannis has gone back to Dragonstone, so maybe they're just short a person.
Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah, and I forgot that he says that Renly looks like exactly like what Robert used to look like. And considering that Sansa said that Renly was like the most handsome man she'd ever seen in person, that's really saying something about Robert.
I had always been under the impression that he was a hot piece of ass.
Yeah.
You know, even though it wasn't really, you didn't get that on the show, just from, like, his backstory, I just decided that, yeah.
Yeah. I cannot tell you what total contempt I have for King Robert. Like, as a person. He is just such a fucking coward. The fact that he does this and then just, like, goes and hides in his wheelhouse and gets drunk the rest of the ride. Ugh, I hate him so much. I really do.
He has dragged Ned from the north to come and help him with these flatterers and fools. And he can't even fucking show up for the first goddamn meeting.
Yep. First meeting, and then, like, the one crisis on the road, the first moment that he has to show up and show Ned, like, what
Who
he's
he
made
is.
of, and just fucking farts all over the place.
Both times.
Yep.
So I'm gonna give you a pass for that.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot. Sean doesn't like the F word.
And, so...
Sorry.
I'm all fucked up now. But yeah, he's pretty much useless.
Yep.
And so I'm disgusted with him, I think is fair. I think it's fair that you have contempt for him. I think it's fair that I am disgusted with him already at this early juncture. If I didn't know any better, I would say I hope that he redeemed himself, but we all know that he does not.
Indeed.
Because like most pieces of shit, they die without ever making up for any of the stuff they wrote.
Isn't it so tragic?
It's true. It is how things go.
Yep.
Got a piece of shit in your life? Those motherfuckers are going to die before they fix it. Just from me to you.
And then you'll spend the rest of your life convincing yourself that, I think they were sorry. I think they knew. No, they didn't. And they didn't care. It's fine.
Girl, it's so true. Listen, we all tell ourselves what we have to to fucking make it through a day. So, this council meeting, first of all, it has a real Mean Girl vibe to it that I didn't appreciate. It had a very, we're all in on all the jokes that you don't get, newcomer, ha ha ha, kind of thing. And I was not a huge fan of this.
So you agree? You think you're really pretty? It's just like, I don't know why that was the one that popped into my head, but that's always it.
You know, so there's this kind of like, it's so funny because we said in the last episode, like, about calling someone oh sweet summer child. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like the whole council just looks at him and says together, "Aww." Mm-hmm. So Ned gets a little bit of a feeling that, you know, these people, Robert told me that there was nothing but shit up here anyway. But, you know, I'm looking at all of you and I'm listening to how you're greeting me and how you're talking to me, and I need to figure out, like, who's who here.
Right.
And they go on about the business of the day, which for them is that Robert has decided that to celebrate Ned coming to be the hand, there should be a giant fucking tournament.
With like 90,000 stags in prize
right.
money. Just the prize money. That's not even any of the other costs.
What is right? Which is the worst idea ever.
It's like throwing yourself a military parade for no reason.
Listen, right? I mean, so it's just it's a dumb expense. It's unnecessary. Ned wants no part of it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't get a say in it. And then on top of that, we find out that the crown is like $6 million in debt. $3 million just to the Lannisters.
Yep.
And Ned is rightly horrified.
I love that. He's like, "Are you saying we're $3 million in debt?" No. I'm saying we're $6 million in debt. $3 million to the Lannisters exclusively.
You know, this is like, you know, accidentally seeing the credit report of somebody that you're dating.
Oh,
you know,
God.
And you're just like, or if you're me, making sure that they don't see a copy,
right?
Until after you get married. That's how I do.
I have like decent credit now, and it's a real alien sensation.
Listen, I watch my credit score like I'm at Vegas at the slot machine. I just, and I check it all the time. I'm like, oh, it went up? Why did it go down like 2 points?
Getting me to go look. I got my phone out.
I'm like, I check mine every week. I check it every week.
Although I think actually I have a thing on my credit card app that anytime it changes, I get like a notification. So probably it's the same.
Yeah, I haven't enabled any of those on any of my bank accounts or cards, but I have the Credit Karma app, which is, you know, it's only your score, and it's your score isn't like really a real thing, but it is a real thing. Mm-hmm, but you guys didn't tune in to hear about that. But so. Yeah, he finds out that the crown is crazy in debt. That I think the most glaring thing that Ned learns from this council meeting is the complete lack of respect that the council seems to have for their fucking king.
Yep.
Right? Like, no one says anything crazy out of pocket, but there's some snarkiness and some eye rolling, you know, and some kind of... You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and this is Ned. Ned just got here.
Ned's just so, like, there's this exchange with him and Petire when he shows up. I'm going to read this because I find this so... This is part of what I mean when I say that I find Peter so funny in this, because I think it's not just that I find him funny, but I find it funny how much Ned is bothered by him. So he eyed Ned with a smile on his lips that bordered on insolence. "I've hoped to meet you for some years, Lord Stark. No doubt Lady Catelyn has mentioned me to you." "She has," Ned replied, with a chill in his voice. The sly arrogance of the comment rankled him. "I understand you knew my brother Brandon as well." Renly Baratheon laughed. Varys shuffled over to listen.
Ugh.
"Rather too well," Littlefinger said. "I still carry a token of his esteem. Did Brandon speak of me too?" "Often, and with some heat," Ned said, hoping that would end it. He had no patience with this game they played, this dueling with words. "Ned, sweetie, dueling with... You think this is... Honey, what are you... That's nothing. That's nothing." I should have thought that heat ill suits you, Starks, Littlefinger said. Here in the south they say you're all made of ice and melt when you ride below the neck. I do not plan on melting soon, Lord Baelish. You may count on it. Ooh, good one, Ned. Just the whole, it's so tame, and he's already like irritated by it, and it's just so, it just does not bode well for him in this environment, man.
This is just like, okay, I want to just make a quick point of that Varys shuffled over. Just, like that, okay. They're definitely trying to paint a very specific picture. So this is, I understand not having the patience for this type of talk, even though this is relatively mild, and just being the kind of person that would just like say what you mean and mean what you say and just like be out with it. But it becomes, in this moment, very quickly, we realize that Ned is out of his element in more ways than we first thought.
Yes.
Because if he cannot bring himself to participate in this way of behaving, he's going to be in some fucking trouble.
Yep.
And so far, it seems like he is not capable of this. And that probably makes him a better person, but it is not going to be helpful.
That's the main thing, I think, is that he's clinging to this, like, idea of, it feels like wanting to elevate everyone around him with his own behavior.
Oh, he's a Democrat.
Look, I was heading in that direction, and you just said it, and I respect that.
Does Ned go high when they go low?
This is what I'm saying. It's again, he wants things to function according to a set of rules, as if the fact that he has decided that these rules exist mean that they all also acknowledge that these rules exist.
We are going to fucking end up at the end of the season with our heads on a goddamn pike, just like Ned Stark. That's just what's fucking coming for us, the season finale.
Like, it's really tough to read this time around, because it's the exact kind of thing that I feel like the Democrats do, is that they go into a thing wanting to make a change, wanting to like fix the things, and everything about what they think and are trying to do is correct. Their hearts are in the right place. What they're aiming for is honorable, good, and worthy. But they don't want to lower themselves to the levels of the people around them. And guess what? That's not effective. It's the kind of thing that when people try and say, like, one of the pluses that's always bandied about is, oh, well, so-and-so, they're not a politician. Well, then I don't want them to be in politics representing me. I need a politician. That's what I'm hiring for.
That's the exact job description.
That's what it is. That's all of it. And it's like, it's said with such disdain, and I get it because it's shitty, granted. But it's also what the world is.
I was just thinking to myself how glad I am to be doing this book, because it feels like there's not any direct political allegory happening. So that, like, we wouldn't have to be having these conversations while we're doing this book. I mean, I legit just thought that to myself today. And here we are, 58 minutes in.
It's my fault. I can do that with anything. Like I'll get into a political argument with myself on Spoil Me alone, and I'll just start like, ugh, who cares? Nobody's here for this, but I can't help it. So yeah,
that's pretty much
this thing with the tourney. Ned's like especially affronted that this debt is being done supposedly to celebrate him.
Yeah. And it's like, at one point Ned is like, well, we should just say no. Like this, and they're all like, ha 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 ha, you know? And Ned is like, but clearly we cannot afford this. This is, like, somebody back me up. And it is clear that this council has, if they ever did it in the first place, they have clearly stopped trying to deal with Robert as though he were a reasonable, rational, engaged leader. And it's much more about keeping him quiet, keeping him drunk, and keeping him out of their way.
Yep.
As they run the city to, I can't speak for all the council members, but we find out, at least from Baelish in the next chapter, that things are running in a way that works best for them.
Right.
Peter's able to leverage, his position to be a very, what in God's name is that cat doing? Yes, girl. We could be have boxes everywhere because we're moving.
It's Cat's paradise.
She's fucking you guys. But anyway, so they're just like, they're not interested in trying to get Robert to come out and like be king in any real way.
Yeah.
Which is clearly what Ned is expecting him to do. And he is seeing very quickly that is not how this is going to go.
Yeah, he says something about how, I'll talk to Robert about this. We can't afford this. And they're like, yeah, you go ahead and talk to him. So what are we going to do for the tourney?
Exactly. They're like, you want to go spin your wheels and waste your time, fine, but we're not doing that anymore. And that is, in and of itself, a really bad sign for the leadership of this country, and that this small council is sort of operating in a way to just keep the city kind of running and protect their interests and keep this unreliable person that's in charge out of the way. And that is a sign that your leader is not leading.
Yep.
And it just, it strikes me that there's no way that Ned was prepared for how distant Robert was from his role as leader. Like how he has just sort of abandoned that.
Yeah. Is that the cat still?
It still is, y'all. It's still the damn cat. She left, but then she came back.
I have like Gangster's Paradise playing in my head, but it's Kitten's Paradise. As she walks through the valley of the shadow of boxes, she takes a look at them, and so then we have Littlefinger bringing him to the brothel, and Ned being like, "What are you talking about, Catelyn?" He's like, "Yeah, your wife is here because she's a whore." Is like what Ned clearly thinks he's saying to him. Like he's fucking with him so hard. I can't get over that Ned really seems to... Why? Why would he do that, Ned? Oh my god. He says something about like, so this isn't some weird joke? I'm like...
A jape.
Jape.
He calls it a jape. Which is a word that I really do adore, and there's just never a reason to use it. But yeah, it's an old favorite. The council meeting ends, and Ned's like making his way back to his quarters because this motherfucker still has not had a bath. And Littlefinger is like, "You're going the wrong way." That is just like, I'm doing what now?
He's like, "Yeah, come this way," and so he follows him, and then he's like, "This isn't the way to my room."
Right?
Littlefinger's like, "Oh wow, good for you! You figured it out."
This whole journey was like the best part for you, I'm sure.
Then when they get outside and he's like, "We're not in the castle anymore." Oh
my god!
What tipped you off, buddy? Was it the sky?
Listen, this is right around the part where I started to tap out, and I realized that Ned deserves this because he is really asking some silly ass questions and making some really obvious observations. But yeah, by the end, I was just like I said earlier, I was just like, all right, let's fucking wrap this up, please. So I also really enjoyed when because after Peter was like, your wife is here, and Ned's like, you calling my wife a whore? Sir Roderick comes running out to attest that no, she's really here. Mm-hmm. But because he shaved his beard off, Ned is like,
nobody asked
what,
you
want some? Right? He's like, yeah, come over here and get some. Keep it up. And then he realizes who it is. So I had a nice little chuckle about that. Because, yeah, he was about to fucking shut up. Yep. Mind your business. And so finally, he goes into the brothel, and he is scandalized, by the way.
Oh, my God. I love it so much. I love Peter, too, being like, hey, keep suspicion down. Try and look a little more lecherous and maybe grab some titties or something.
Oh, my God. When he said just maybe grab a titty or two or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, my God. like, Ned Stark is crawling out of his fucking skin. Yep. This is like the last... oh, my God. He is... Yeah, poor thing. So, I love that there's a mention that, like, nobody is paying them any attention. Mm-hmm. Because you're in a brothel. Nobody gives a fuck about the dude walking through the room. Nope. But, of course, Ned is, like, thinking that everybody's going to stop whatever they're doing to, like, notice him. So, we get the meeting with him and Kat, finally. And it is... One, it's very sweet. They have a conversation about Varys. Because Kat is like, he's more than just a whisperer or a spider. Like, he knows...
Kat's like, he's a witch.
Basically!
I forgot that she said that shit, like, she's got some dark power. Right. I was like, what?
She is 100% sure that this motherfucker is a witch. Because, and it's so funny because one of her examples is, I sent Sir Roderick to talk to Sir Aaron, and no one could have known about it, and yet somehow he knew about it. I'm like, bitch, she has somebody following
right?
him.
Like what do you... Yeah, yep.
Also, when Ned shows up, one of the first things Varys says to him is he says, I'm so sorry to hear about the trouble you had on the King's Road, mm-hmm. And praying that our prince will recover. So he knows about that shit too.
Yeah.
And we talked before about this whole idea of like letting someone know that you have information about them that they don't expect you to know. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what like a power play that is. I think that happens at the small council meeting. Varys says that to him.
Yeah, when he first arrives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? I'm wondering about that decision to... Well, you know what? I don't know if that's a good example of Varys having... It's hard to say, because they did just get into town, right?
Right.
But I guess news of the prince getting attacked... Would it be weird that spread so fast?
I don't think so. I mean, especially because, like, this causes the Starks and Lannisters to ride separately in a way they weren't before, I feel. And mm-hmm. When he gets in, the rest of his family and his party is still arriving. So who knows how many people were riding ahead and shared what had happened already.
Yeah, so I was thinking that Ned's experience with Varys having information would have been a better example than the one Kat gives, which is, he knew that Sir Roderick had a meeting with Sir Aaron, but maybe not. But either way, she is concerned. Mm-hmm. And he notices the wounds on her hands, and she tells him, and they're deciding, like, what should they do?
Yeah.
And one of them says, well, we should tell the truth, tell Robert what happened. And Littlefinger is like, well,
you don't have any proof at all. Ned's like, we've got the knife, sweetie.
Exactly. And it becomes a matter of who would be believed. Also, I think, I'm not sure when it happens. Maybe it's at the very beginning of Ned's chapter. But I just want to circle back real quick because I thought of it. There's a whole conversation he has with himself about having killed Sansa's direwolf.
Because Bran's dog saved his life. Yeah. Wolf.
So, wait, when does that happen? Does that happen in this moment?
Yeah, it happens when she explains to him about, the fire, and she tells him the whole thing. Right. So then we have this moment with him just in his head thinking about it and wondering, what a mistake he may have made. And I was thinking about what you were telling me about people saying that Sansa losing Lady was one of, like, the first, like, there's a theory that sort of symbolizes her choosing something over her family. And so then having Ned wondering about whether there's a real connection between these wolves and his children, and, like, A, he didn't get that at the beginning, and B, my God, what have I done now? It just took, as I was reading it, I was just like, oh, see? Yeah.
Did you see what you did?
He had killed Sansa, and for what? Is the thought that he has. And that's an interesting thing, because, like, people are talking about, like I said, Sansa's, like, comeuppance. But I think it's interesting to think about Ned is the one who swings the sword and does it because he feels like he hasn't got a choice. And he maybe did and just didn't want to explore what the consequences of that choice would have been, because it's early in this, like, job that he's got, and he doesn't really know what to do here. But yeah, it's sort of like, in order to appease the king, he kills his daughter's protector. And that does feel like it's a different, I don't know.
I think that carries much more resonance for me than the idea that somehow it is a comeuppance for Sansa.
Agreed, yeah.
I think there might be I think that a way to look at it would be like the crisis was a result of her being, out with Joffrey, and because she doesn't tell everyone that he's lying, it feels like, she picked his side and all that.
Right.
But her father ultimately is the one who could protect her from that, from the consequences of that, and he doesn't. And he does make a choice. She makes a choice, but so does he.
Yeah. Yep.
And it feels like maybe people spent a lot of time thinking about her choice, and maybe not as much thinking about his.
Yeah, I think it's they both of them sort of sacrificed their integrity for the authority. In the situation, being like royalty and the king and the royal family in general.
Yeah, and that that she is the one who is standing up there when he loses his head is, not lost on me.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's a good point. So yeah, the chapter with Ned, basically it ends with him saying, I think that we should put some people in place in case war breaks out.
Right.
And Catelyn's like, are you serious? And he's like, I don't think it's going to come to that, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything to be prepared.
He wants her to go back to Winterfell, get the people in place, and he tells her like who to go and, you know, send letters to under his seal and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time I'm just like, if she just went straight home. If she had just gone straight home.
Yep.
But I know that is not what happens. What was the other thing too when they were talking about like potential things? There was, you know, the idea that they could oh, that's right. So she's going to go to Winterfell, and he has a plan too. What is his plan?
So I'm going to read what he says to Cat, and then what he says he's going to. Once you are home, send word to Helman Taller and Galbert Glover under my seal. They are to raise 100 bowmen each and fortify Moat Cailin. 200 determined archers can hold the neck against an army. Instruct Lord Manderley that he is to strengthen and repair all his defenses at White Harbor and see that they are well manned. And from this day on, I want a careful watch kept over Theon Greyjoy.
Right.
If there is a war, we shall have sore need of his father's fleet. And then says it won't come to that. The Lannisters are merciless in the face of weakness, but they would not dare attack the North without all the power of the realm behind them, and that they shall not have. I must play out this fool's masquerade as if nothing is amiss. Remember why I came here, my love. If I find proof that the Lannisters murdered Jon Arryn... And then when she's like, well, then what? He says, all justice flows from the king. When I know the truth, I must go to Robert. And then thinks to himself, and pray that he is the man I think he is, and not the man I fear he has become.
Right. So he is still counting on Robert being worth a shit in a lot of ways. He is setting up a little bit of a plan B, but he is really hoping that it does not come to that, and that Robert will stand up and be who he remembers him to be.
Right.
Even after having met Robert.
Yep. and seeing the way
who,
everybody treats and talks about Robert.
Yeah. And seeing how Robert behaves himself. This is where I, even is watching the show the first time, getting a little frustrated without understanding what all was going on and who all these characters were. This feeling of like, oh, you gotta go home. Y'all gotta go home.
Yep.
And I remember having more and more anxiety the longer that Ned was in King's Landing towards the end. And to get to this part of the book where I know an outline of what's coming, but that I'm going to have to read it all again, in detail, and hopefully get like a lot of stuff that I didn't get from the show. I am again like all nervous for him, I just wish I could just go and shake him and go, just go home.
Right? Yeah.
just go home. We haven't had a Cersei yet. I don't think a Cersei POV yet. I'm really looking forward to getting one of those. I don't know. Like I said, I can't remember how the stuff that happens with the cat next really went down. I remember that it ends up with her having Tyrion in custody.
Right.
And that in the show they ended up at the Eyrie. But how she comes across him and gets him in her custody, I guess he's leaving the wall, so maybe he's traveling home and she's traveling north and they just find him on the road. It could be something as simple as that, but I don't remember. It was a point made in the last chapter with Tyrion that he was going to be traveling with not a very big guard. I think Lord Mormont is like, well, I'm going to send people with you to Winterfell at least.
Right.
So I guess maybe once he gets past Winterfell and it's just him and his 1 or 2 guards, maybe she rolls up on him then. But I can't remember how exactly that played out.
Yeah.
And I said it at the beginning of this goodbye she gives Baelish, I don't know what she's thinking. Is she just really tired?
I love when she tells Ned, "You didn't marry a fool," and then she says this shit 2 seconds later.
Listen, I just, and 10 seconds before that, she had admitted that she gave them all the tea that she had in her disposal. So this is the second or third time we've had this, where there'll be 1 second, there'll be a mention of how Kat has good judgment, or knows the tricks of men. And then she'll do something like this. So I don't know what to make of this character. I don't know what she's supposed to be and how much I'm supposed to trust her judgment. Like, am I supposed to think she makes good decisions? Or, is this somebody that's going to just keep fucking up after fuck up and I'm going to get, like, really irritated and angry with? I don't know where this is going for this character. Because, a character that makes just like one ridiculous mistake after another,
right,
can get tiresome. You don't want to read a character that just keeps fucking getting it wrong. So I need her to tighten up or something.
And this brings me to a question that I got via email from Chris Herrera, I think. And he asked, I've been following your Song of Ice and Fire reread and noticed that you are much more sympathetic towards Catelyn and Sansa than you were the first time around, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to expand a bit on how/why your opinion of them has changed. So, it's hard to say completely why, because it's such a huge answer. But mostly, I have grown the fuck up is a major part of the reasoning why. And I have realized that what seems like an obvious, like, this means that they are a bad person, and that means that they are a good person. It's never that cut and dried with complex, like, questions like how Kat treats Jon, where I really despised her just because of how she treated Jon, and decided flat out, I hate this bitch, from that instance of how she was thinking about him as well. And I stand by that that's shitty and it sucks. But also, when I think about how differently we all cope with situations that are like a repeated daily humiliation, which is what you and I were talking about regarding Jon, and the fact that this is being thrown in her face, that he's being kept in the same castle and treated to a lot of the same privileges as her trueborn children, and it feels so humiliating. The way that I would cope with that is not gospel. And I think that's something that I'm growing more comfortable with as I get older, is like, I have often, and I still do in many cases, don't get me wrong, but I had often felt like the way that I see a thing and the way I would react to it is the way that people should react, because that is the way that's reasonable and thought through. And that's just not true. People come at things with their own baggage. People come at things with their own, sometimes flawed understanding, and I also have my flawed understanding, which I often, forget that part, that it's also flawed. And so I think that's a major factor. And with Sansa, I think it's, and probably with Kat as well, I think I was coping with a lot of internalized misogyny with both characters that I have started to combat a lot more. And I think that that's something that many more people than would like to admit also cope with these two characters. People try to point to characters like Arya as an example of liking a female character, and therefore they don't have a misogyny problem. But a character like Arya is behaving in a masculine way for this universe. And so she is getting respect from readers because she is emulating the very limited scope of bravery and what's the word I want for somebody who is like willing to engage in like a fight? And not even necessarily just in like a physical way. But there is a lot more respect paid to the kinds of female characters that are displaying traditionally masculine characteristics. Being violent, being aggressive, being unwilling to perform the femininity that is expected of them. That is all lauded in tons of literature and TV shows and whatnot. Respecting women who are very feminine and who are trying to do what they can within the bounds of the femininity that is expected of them, you don't see that often. And when you do,
and it's never well received.
They are not received well. Exactly, they are not. And this is something that I actually dealt with a lot in in The Walking Dead. In the second season, there's this character Carol that I really, really liked. And I noted how she was doing so much labor for everybody and constantly making the place like livable, making food for people, doing laundry. She was performing so much labor. And yet viewers despised her. And it wasn't until she began to be a, quote, badass that people started to like her. And I found it really frustrating because they acted as if she hadn't been contributing before that. She hadn't been contributing in a way that everybody tends to respect, which is doing things that male characters are applauded for. And therefore, all her contributions were rendered meaningless. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel about Sansa. And I think that I really had a blind spot about that the first time that I read this series. And I failed to appreciate what it is like for a woman who has a limit on what she's allowed, especially not just regarding society, because arguably Arya functions in the same society and her limits seem different. I didn't appreciate the limits of a personality. Some people just don't want to constantly be bucking convention. Some people want to wear pretty clothes, want to be in social settings, want to have these like these verbal duels that Eddard hates so much. And that there is a place for that, and that is valuable in its way. But I didn't respect it at all. And this is something that I've grown to appreciate within myself. I am somebody who, I'm going to the gym and I am, deadlifting 140 pounds. But I also have bright pink sneakers, a pink water bottle, pink towel, and I am willing to take up space with all of my girly shit in a way that I absolutely never would have done 6 or 7 years ago. Because I felt like I had to imitate guys in a lot of senses if I wanted to be taken seriously. There is a distinct need for male approval that is at the root of some of the ways that I was behaving that I have let go of and don't really give a shit about anymore. And I can say that with real sincerity. I just don't fucking care. And it's really upsetting, honestly, to look back at how much I did care at one time. It's alarming because you know that there are lots of people out there who are still operating like that, and more so even, with no awareness that's what they're doing.
Right.
So yeah, that's my answer. Is just I am conquering internalized misogyny, and I am becoming more, I think, compassionate to people's experiences and trying to extend grace as somebody who fucked up my life in a major way, in a way that I think if anybody read about it, they would objectively have some opinions on. And realizing so emotions and things will fuck you up and you will make bad decisions and you are not perfect. And that's never a fun thing to learn about yourself. But, sometimes you need to learn. So yeah, I think that's my answer on that. But that's pretty much the end of Catelyn and Ned, and then the last chapter is Tyrion, which we've talked about some. And this is when we get the scene at dinner where Alliser tries to get in his face.
Oh my
Alliser
God.
challenges Tyrion to a duel, basically.
In front of everybody. Everybody. What is he thinking?
Does he think this makes him look good? Like,
he can't possibly think that he comes out looking good here.
good God.
It's a couple of jokes. You know, it all starts out with some friendly ribbing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he tries to go head-to-head with Tyrion, and he is outmatched.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is not Tyrion's first time, he just ups the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, oh, we're going to do this? Well, how about if I just jump on this fucking table and make this whole thing so absurd no one can take you seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Which is always a good tactic to try.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it doesn't always work, but it's always a good tactic to try if you're trying to not get your ass beat.
Indeed.
You know? So, and then he ends up just, I mean, Tyrion stabs him in the chest a couple times with like a lobster fork.
A crab fork.
Yep. There's no coming back from that. What do? You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing.
I love that everybody's laughing so hard. The Lord Commander starts to choke. And the crow, which by the way, or the raven, starts to yell duel.
Oh my
This
God.
raven is talking all the time.
Listen.
Tyrion gets very irritated about it a little bit later.
Oh, Lord. So, the talk around the table, where they're talking about, I don't want to get confused. I know they talk about needing more riders, right? Or needing more people to come up to the wall.
That happens a little bit later. There's some conversation here about Sir Jeremy, who is talking about the fact that Alliser is here because he was on the Targaryen side, and that that basically Tyrion's dad gave them the choice of like, take the black or get your head cut off and mount it on the wall.
Is this where Tyrion says that he doesn't think that he's a good pick to be training the boys?
No, that's also later.
God damn it.
Yeah, this is all the conversation. That all is private between just him.
That's just
and
him
Lord
and the Lord Commander, right?
Yeah. Here is where Maester Aemon says that Tyrion is a giant.
Oh, right.
And he says, I've been called many things, but giant is seldom one of them. And he says, nonetheless, I think it's true. Tyrion replies, that is very kind. And he says, I've been called many things, but kind is seldom one of them. Which is pretty good. So, and then after this is when everybody begins to break up, and then he and Mormont are alone. And Mormont gives him some spiced wine that's like really strong and makes his eyes water, and tells him that I'm going to be giving you some extra men to guard your back. And Tyrion hears that and is like, so clearly you want a favor. And the favor is, please tell the king we need help. Oh my God, please.
Right. Yeah, he is describing the situation at the wall, and it's funny because we had gotten a chapter with John talking about how none of this is what he thought it was going to be, or what they told him it was going to be. And it turns out that that is true, and that the wall has been on a steady decline. I feel like since Robert became king?
For about 100 years or more, it seems.
Oh, that long?
Yeah, it's like the real last 100 years in particular, it's been declining.
So they are in a really bad way. They have all of this extensive territory that they're responsible for. You know, the castle has all the different watches on it, or different keeps or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't have nearly enough people to man it. the quality of the people that they get has also, which we kind of talked about before in John's chapter, it used to be a point of pride to come and serve. Mm-hmm. And now they just get, like you described earlier, just the dregs.
Yep.
And what, not only do they get the worst, but they don't even get as many of them as they used to get. Mm-hmm.
They usually, there's like room for 5,000 at this one alone, and they've got like 500.
Yeah, and he's trying to impress the urgency, because he's saying that, in all his years, because there's like talk about like winter, and how many winters, or how many summers Tyrion has, lived through or whatever. And he was born in winter, but he doesn't have much memory of it. And Mormont is trying to really get across how important it is, because things are happening. Mm-hmm. There are reports that wildlings are moving south.
And it seems like they're running from something.
That cannot be anything good. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is enough. Like, you tell someone that, I feel like that should have been enough to have somebody take it seriously. But no one's taking it seriously.
Yeah, he says something about how White Walkers were spotted, and that's when Tyrion's like, oh yeah, and they've seen Merlings too. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a big joke.
Yeah, he says something. He tells Tyrion that this is the coldest he's ever, he's never felt the cold like this in his bones. Mm-hmm. That this just feels, this winter. And again, we get the whole the winter is coming thing, right? Mm-hmm. But he is saying that this is not going to be like other ones. And that the wall is all that stands between whatever is out there and the Seven Kingdoms. And, he's been drinking. So he's probably a little bit more emotional and passionate than he would have been if he was sober. But he is practically begging Tyrion to make someone in King's Landing give a fuck.
Yep.
And to send more men. That it's like life and death. And Tyrion promises that he will, and he intends to, but he's saying to himself, nobody's going to care.
No.
My father is going to ask me, you think I'm crazy? Jamie is going to laugh in my face. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have the heart to tell Mormont that. And he also tries to tell Mormont that they should let Jon Snow ride down with him to see his family at Winterfell. And I think it's Lord Mormont who's like, no, it's too soon.
Yeah.
He just got here. He's got to basically really understand that his family is gone now.
Yeah.
And he says that he hasn't even been to see his sisters over on Bear Island. Mm-hmm. And that he has nieces he's never met. And I was like, oh my God, yes you do. And you would be so proud.
I also think, like, I hate this part, but I get it. That Tyrion is, like, embarrassed for him. Because Tyrion's interpretation of this guy asking for help is not, he really believes that something bad is going on and needs the help. It's, he has dedicated so much of his life to this that he needs to feel like it was for something. Mm-hmm. Which is totally, I get that. Like, that's a valid interpretation in its way. Not here, but I would understand that being the way somebody would see it. But it's just awful when you know how practical Mormont really is. Pride doesn't come into things for him the way that it seems Tyrion thinks it does.
Right.
And so when you know that about a person and you think you hear a character ascribing their motivations to pride, it's extra frustrating because you're like, no. He doesn't care about that. It's not like that, But it's also very telling about somebody interpreting things as pride.
Yeah, I think that's the really important part there that you just hit on is that because what does Tyrion know but like really proud people who are like take that above everything else. I mean, his father, you know, and his brother and his sister in their way. So he just might not recognize it when it's right there in front of him.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't know what it looks like. And it's a shame because it's so funny to be coming back to this material, because knowing, you know, the little that I do know, there's so many times where you just want to, like, don't do that. Or, no, listen to him, what he's saying.
Yep. Yep.
And that was, you know, the same feeling I had when we did the reread for Harry Potter. There, you know, there's certain moments where you're just like, oh, it could just be different. And what does this fucking bird say? Start repeating in the room.
Oh, God, I forgot. Because, like, he keeps... Oh, fool. He starts repeating fool. And this is like, you know, he also mentions how Benjen's gone. I sent Benjen to look for this other dude. Who do I send to look for Benjen?
Right?
Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do right now?
That moment in particular, I felt like, Jesus Christ, they are really at bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is trying to run this place and keep it together, but like spit and scotch tape. And it's not holding. And when I finished reading, it was such a it ended on such a, like, this scene with them ends so desperately, you know. And then Tyrion kind of needs to, like, get out because this is just a lot.
Yeah.
And you think that he's just going to go to fucking bed, because that would be a smart thing to do.
I think he would agree with you.
Listen, but he gets this impulse that he wants to see, you know, the top of the world one more time, because he cannot imagine ever coming back to this place, you know, voluntarily. So he wants, you know, one more look. And he goes up there, and Jon is up there. Mm-hmm. And they get to have, which I actually really was glad, they get to have, like, a proper goodbye. Yeah. And I really enjoyed this. And it's you know, this moment that they share, especially when Jon asks Tyrion to relay a message. Mm-hmm. Which Tyrion is just like, people are asking an awful fucking lot of me tonight. But Jon says, you know, he wants also for Tyrion to help Bran. Yeah. And Tyrion is just like, what do you think I can do? Mm-hmm. You know, I have not a maester. I don't have any fucking spells. I can't cure them. And Jon says, you helped me. And I feel like that might be the first time anyone's ever told Tyrion that.
Yeah, I could see that.
And he says, you know, your words helped me. And there had been a part earlier in Jon's chapter where he thinks to himself, when he's talking about how fucking Thorin calls him Lord Snow, and he kind of, like, remembers that conversation that he had with Tyrion at Winterfell about, like, whatever name they give you. Mm-hmm. Like, take it for yourself to kind of, like, take the power away. Mm-hmm. And, you know, finally Tyrion agrees, and it's just like, you know, whatever comfort I can give to your brother, I will. And they share, like, one last Grumpkin joke. And they shake hands goodbye, and they take their gloves off to shake hands.
Yeah. Jon calls him friend, and Tyrion's like, oh, buddy.
Yeah, he says something really funny in response to that. Something like, I've known a lot of bastards, but didn't call any of them friend. Or
most of my kin are bastards, but you're the first I've had to friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, and then it was never, let's see, here it is. The castle had a prodigious appetite for firewood, and here the forest was still kept at bay by the axes of the Black Brothers. It was never far, though. From up here, Tyrion could see it, the dark trees looming beyond the stretch of open ground like a second wall built parallel to the first, a wall of night. Few axes had ever swung in that black wood, where even the moonlight could not penetrate the ancient tangle of root and thorn and grasping limb. Out there the trees grew huge, and the rangers said they seemed to brood and knew not men. It was small wonder the Night's Watch named it the Haunted Forest. And up there he's like thinking, I make a lot of jokes about like snarks and grumpkins, and I'm looking out there and all of a sudden I don't feel real cute about it anymore. And Jon says something about, Benjen is supposed to be back, and I'm waiting every night, still hasn't happened. Tyrion says, give him time. And then they hear wolves howling. And Jon's like, well, we'll go get him if we can't find him. And Tyrion's like, I bet you will. And who knows if anybody will ever see your ass again either. And that is how the chapter ends.
The idea that these ranger parties just keep going out and not coming back,
Right?
you have to keep sending another one out.
But what are they supposed to do?
I mean, call that shit a draw.
I guess.
Stop sending motherfuckers out into those woods. They not coming back.
It's just like, there's nobody to care.
Oh.
That's the thing is it's just them there at the wall whose own friends are leaving and disappearing. And other than that, there's no, the king is supposed to be the one that has probably got final say, but this is a nothing operation at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And, these dudes, some of them at least, seem to give a shit about each other.
Yeah, well,
At least a
that'll
little.
learn them.
And the part where the crow is saying, or the raven is saying, fool, is in response to Mormont being like, I shouldn't have let Royce have his own team. He was a kid, but I didn't want to offend his dad, and he demanded it. So I let him have it and just go on out there. Now I look like a fucking idiot because he's just never come back. Embarrassing.
Which has also got to be part of the reasons why he's not giving Jon no fucking slack.
Right, yeah.
Because he just did this shit.
Yep. So that's it. Is there any other thoughts that you wanted to share about this?
No, I just, I want to get to the next chapters. I want to see, I don't know what the next 3 chapters are. I didn't look. So I'm not even sure who I'm going to see.
Yeah, I won't tell you.
Okay, it'll be a surprise for all.
I think that this book, these are the, mostly the POVs we get for this one. But I'm not totally sure. I didn't check ahead myself, so don't quote me. Who do you want to see next?
I would like to see Cersei in King's Landing.
Cool.
I would like to check in with one of the girls. I think maybe Arya. And that third one, I don't know. Let's see what Daenerys is doing. We haven't talked to her in a minute.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So, let's see. I said
Cersei, Arya, and Daenerys.
All right. So, 3 women.
Yeah.
Look at that. Fancy that.
Ta-da! All right, everybody. Well, you know where to find us. Facebook.com/UnspoiledPod, Twitter at Unspoiled Show, Instagram at Unspoiled Podcast, unspoiledpodcast@gmail.com. And you can become a patron at patreon.com/unspoiled and listen to me and Miles talking about Midnight Sun. And then we will be getting into the second Mistborn book, which I don't know the title of, but I will be getting into it. That'll probably be around the new year that we start that one. So, and that's it. Cool. Thanks, guys, so much for listening. Hope you're enjoying the show. Until next week. Oh, and by the way, you'll know this by now, but these are going to be coming out on Fridays instead of Mondays, which I figure, since this probably went up on a Friday, you figured that out. But I just figured I'd mention it here. But nobody listens all the way to the end, so nobody heard this. Okay. Thanks, everybody, and toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.